So in my business, I made a total of $215,000. But for the sake of simplicity, I just wrote down $200,000 here. Now, in terms of expenses, I had $120,000, which meant that I had a net profit after tax of $80,000. So for my business, I spent money in advertising, on consultants, subscriptions, wages and salaries, and fee. And so if you're asking, what should I actually spend my money on? I would throw that question back to you and ask you, what is it that you want? Do you want to save time, or is it that you want to upskill? This year, my business made just over 200,000 Australian dollars, and I spent $120,000 of that on expenses. Now, you guys seem to love all the videos I have about money. So in this video, I'm going to share with you what I spend my money on, a breakdown of where I actually spent the money, and my decision making on why I actually choose to make these expenses. Now, if you don't know what you should be spending your money on in the business, if you don't know who you should be spending your money on in the business, and if you say to yourself, I'm not good with money, then this video is for you. Hi, if you don't know me, I'm Lisa. I'm in my slow productivity era, working on my second business. My first business was a private tutoring business, which I sold, and now I'm working to help tutors start and scale their businesses. I'm a big believer of not pushing yourself to burnout when it comes to your business, but building it in a way that's sustainable and scalable. And if you like what I have to say, I would love for you to share this video with a fellow entrepreneur friend of yours. Let's get into it. So first, what do I actually spend my money on? I spend my money on three things: people, processes, and tech. Now, people is basically finding the right people with the right skills to help you with what you need in your business. We'll talk more about these three categories and what I spend within these categories throughout the rest of this video. Second is processes. So streamlining and optimizing methods and procedures used to make things happen in the business. For example, publishing a YouTube video. When it comes to publishing a YouTube video, every single time we follow the exact same steps in my business. And so if you're following the exact same steps, you want to make sure that you create a system for it. For example, a step-by-step SOP, and that way the person who's actually uploading the video doesn't forget anything throughout that upload process. The third thing is tech, or sometimes also called tools. Now, this is when you start leveraging software to help you make things happen on automation. There is absolutely no way you can do absolutely everything in a business, especially if you want to scale. And so that's where using tech and automations comes in really handy. So let me give you a breakdown of how I spent my money this year. So out of this last financial year, for us in Australia, our financial year goes from July 1st through to June 30 the following year. So that's why I've got 2023/2024. This is finishing in June 30. So in my business, I made a total of $215,000. But for the sake of simplicity, I just wrote down 200,000 here. Now, in terms of expenses, I had $120,000, which meant that I had a net profit after tax of $80,000. That $80,000 is what goes into my back pocket at the end of the day for me to use on whatever I personally want. And this is how I spent the $120,000 in my business over this past year. Now, as you can see, there are a lot of categories in this pie chart. What I did was I extracted this data from my accounting software Xero. If you don't have an accounting software in your business and you're generating over $50,000 in your business, AUD, then I definitely recommend that you start looking into an accounting software. Having accounting software is the best way for you to track all of your income versus your expenses and truly know at the end of the day how much you're genuinely making. I have worked with so many clients in the past who just don't know their numbers. And when you don't know your numbers, just know that you can't measure what you don't track. How can you know how much you can afford to expense in your business when you don't even know what budget you have in your business to expense? I promise you, once you sign up to an accounting software, it can be Xero, it can be MyOb, there are so many other ones out there. They all pretty much do the same thing. You will never go back. So going back to this expenses breakdown, I'm actually going to simplify this pie chart. For some reason, my Canva is having issues displaying the pie chart, but that's okay because I'm going to simplify it and we're going to jump into 5 main parts of the business where I spent money, and I'm going to tell you exactly what I spent that money on. So for my business, I spent money in advertising, on consultants, subscriptions, wages and salaries, and fees. Now, some of these fall under the category of people, others in processes, and others in tools. Some of them have a combination of people, process, and tools. So let's look at firstly advertising. So out of the $120,000 I spent in my business over this past year, I spent 32% of it on advertising. Yes, that is a lot. For me at this stage in business where I'm in my early six figures, my focus is all about reach and getting visibility, getting eyeballs on the work that I do so that I can actually nurture a larger audience and therefore be able to make more sales. In order to do that, I spent money on Facebook ads. I also spent money on YouTube. These includes things like buying gear for YouTube, buying even makeup I actually put under as a business expense, and even clothes sometimes. And to be honest, a lot of the times when it comes to makeup and clothes, these are just things that I want to buy, but I do put them through as a business expense because I do use them for YouTube. Now, the next thing is client gifts. I'm a really big believer that to have a successful business, you want to have happy clients. It's not just a matter of making the sale and then that's it. You want to actually look after your customer throughout their customer journey with you. And so one of those things that I do is I will give them gifts. Now, these gifts can be anything from actually sending them something in the mail to maybe purchasing them an electronic gift card. Now, the reason why client gifts is under advertising or marketing is because even though it brings me so much joy to be able to surprise and delight my customers, one aspect of it is that if they have a really positive experience with the product already, and I'm actually bettering their experience by sending them messages to show them that I really value them as a customer, that might be that final thing that tips them over the edge to spread word of mouth about my business. And so by hopefully making my clients happy, that's another way that I can encourage marketing or word of mouth about my business. And the next thing I spent money on is branding, just elevating the brand, making it come together more cohesively and in a sophisticated way is, to me, also another way to increase your marketing efforts as well. I've grown my business from 0 to multiple six figures twice in a row now because this is my second business. And one tip I have is that you need to spend money in order to make money. A lot of this just comes down to a mental game, and this is what I've realized, because hearing this is probably not the first time you've heard it, to be honest, but there's a reason why if you're not spending that money, you're probably scared for some reason and something is holding you back. So ultimately, I think it's a matter of a mental game. You have to get over the fear of losing money. You have to take that leap of faith of, if I'm going to invest this money, I can look at the opportunities that will come my way and the gains that I can possibly make. And the gains is exciting enough for you to go and take that leap of faith, and maybe, yeah, you might actually waste that money, but the possibilities of potentially growing your business outweighs the risk of just sitting around not doing anything with that money. The second thing I recommend is don't hoard your money. I used to do this in the early years of my first business because I didn't feel security within myself when it came to my finances. And so I would just take all of the money and I wouldn't actually expense it on anything. And because I didn't do that, I actually slowed down my business growth because my business needed things. It needed people, it needed processes, and it needed tools in order for it to grow. So I recommend that you look at your money shadows. Do the groundwork to make sure that you actually start feeling comfortable spending money in your business. If you're in the business game, you're going to have to spend money in order for you to grow. You can't expect yourself to grow without spending any money. By the way, if you like my approach to money, then I recommend you join my email list. I send out weekly emails to my subscribers, sharing my business journey, including talking about finances, but also other things like slow productivity, how I've been overwhelmed and burnt out time and time again, and how I'm really living in alignment with my values these days, or at least trying to, and building a business that I truly love and that is scalable and super successful at the same time. I believe that I can have my cake and be able to eat it too. Go ahead and sign up to the mailing list if you'd like weekly updates from me. Next is invest in yourself. What I've learned making millions in business is that you need to invest in yourself. My recommendation is that in the beginning stages of your business, you are your best investment. You probably don't have as much money to go and spend on hiring people. And so if you can't spend money on hiring people, at least you can upskill yourself and invest in yourself to develop whatever it is you need in order to then take your business from where it is now to a place where you can actually spend money on people. My other recommendation is to invest in the parts of business that you're actually interested in. I think there's something really powerful in being able to meet your passion and your interest with what you're doing in in your business. When you marry these two together, it's not going to feel like work. It's not going to feel like you're studying. It's just going to feel interesting, and you're going to be internally pulled to do the things because you want to see what you're actually capable of. So speaking of investing in yourself, having a mastermind coach is the greatest expense in my business. I spend just over $30,000 out of the $120,000 that I spend each year on a mastermind coach. Now, this mastermind coach is purely for me, the skills that I need in order to take me from multiple six figures to seven figures. For me, having a mentor has been just revolutionary in my business, and I recommend it for everyone. You don't realize how lonely you are in business until you actually have somebody by your side. And if you've got a partner, amazing, then you've got somebody by your side. But if you're doing it solo like I am, damn, you can really get in your head about, should I do this? Should I do that? And like nitty gritties of the everyday that kind of make you slow down and get you stuck. But by having a mentor, I can just ping pong on the phone with her, and within the day, I'll have a solution because I've had another input from someone else. It's not quite the same as talking to your boyfriend, partner, husband, or talking to your friends, because what I really love about having a coach that you actually pay money for is that they are there for you. So I can tap my mentor whenever I want, and I know I'm going to get a response. Whereas when I used to talk to Josh, I would sometimes feel bad because I'd feel like I'd be talking too much about my business, or I feel like I was taking away from his free time because I was asking him about work-related things on the weekend. And so when it came to investing in people this year, there were two main ways of doing so for me. First, I spent it on consultants, people who were external to my business who I'd bring in to help me on a very specific thing in the business. Otherwise, I had people come in and help me internally, which I put under wages and salaries, for things happening inside the business. So for example, when it came to my consultants, I had a customer success consultant. I, again, am a big believer of making sure that your customers have an incredible experience at your company. It's not just a matter of making the sale and then bam, that's it, I'm making bank, I am done, let me go to the beach and chill. You can do that, but you also want to make sure that you enable your clients to be as successful as possible. And so for me, what I find is that sometimes I have students who start working with me who aren't able to get the results that they want. And investing in a customer success consultant is so valuable because if you can help your clients succeed, then your business also succeeds, because when they succeed, they will share word of mouth about your business. They will share testimonials about your business. They're going to be glowing about your business, which then brings in more revenue. The next thing I did was I've also brought in a Facebook ads consultant. So you know that I've been spending money on Facebook ads, but I am only doing that for the first time in this business. And so I really wanted to tap into somebody who really knew my market, my niche, and was able to give me the key strategies and the top things that she's seen has actually worked for her. So when it comes to investing in people, what I want you to think about is how can I save time and how can I accelerate my journey with sage advice? You want to hire people who've actually been there and done that. That's one of the best ways for you to identify before you make that purchase whether or not this person is going to be worth it. If they're preaching that they can do it but they have no track record, then definitely be a bit sus. Now, who should you actually hire? My recommendation, if you're looking for consultants, is look at areas you want to improve on in your business and spend money on consultants for those areas. There's consultants for literally every different part of business. You just have to figure out what's actually strategically aligned with you and what you need right now in business. All right, let's talk about investing in tools. So tools for me is basically subscriptions. Now, you want to choose your subscriptions wisely. So let's look at the subscriptions that I paid for this year. So I spent 14% of my $120,000 that I spent in business this year on subscriptions. First was Calendly to help me schedule in sales calls and also calls with my clients. Canva, you can see that this has also been created on Canva for all things graphic. Zoom to help me actually run my coaching calls. Zapier to help me automate tasks between two different softwares. So for example, if somebody signs up and purchases my product, I want there to be a Zapier, which then automatically triggers an email to be sent out to that person as soon as they sign up. My tip here for Zapier, if there's something that you're doing on repeat, you can probably zap it. Next is Xero. I talked about Xero earlier. It's my accounting software. I check my accounting software every single week to see how I'm tracking towards my goals and whether or not I'm reaching the revenue that I'm aiming for. Next is ChatGPT. Everyone's using ChatGPT these days. I use it to help me as a springboard for a lot of the content activities I do inside my business, from emails to content creation to creating resources. Next is Google. So I pay for Gmail subscription. I pay for Google Drive. I also use Loom to help me record any SOPs that I want to create for my team. I'll just throw this one in as a bonus. I don't pay for this anymore because I sold my private tutoring business, but if you're a tutor watching this and you have a team, then I would highly recommend TeachWorks. If you don't have a team, don't worry about this. You'll be only over-engineering your business for no reason whatsoever and making expenses where you don't need to have expenses. But if you do have a team, then this is the software management that I use. I also have a coupon in my description box that you can use. If you sign up, you get a discount as well. When it comes to subscriptions, I recommend you choose your subscriptions wisely. So actually do the research between the different competitors for that one particular software before you commit. The reason why is because once you commit, it's highly likely that you're going to be on it for a little while. And by the time you realize that it's not quite working for you, you can be quite bogged down because a lot of your content is already in that one platform. And therefore it's quite costly for you to move from one platform to the other. It takes time, it takes human resources to actually migrate. Having said that though, if you do need to make the switch and a software is just no longer fitting you, sometimes we outgrow them as well, it's okay for you to make the switch. But I just wanted to preface this and say, do your homework first. The second thing is invest in quality tools with a track record of listening to their customers. Sometimes you want to cheap out on software because you don't want to have too high of an expense. I completely understand that, especially if you're new at spending money in your business. However, my recommendation is if you find a software that seems to do exactly what you want it to do and it's a little bit pricier than all the others, I would recommend that you go for the one that's a bit more pricey. If it has all the features you need, you're probably going to save a lot more time by actually implementing those features than only having half the features and needing to do a lot of the stuff manually yourself. The other thing is I'm a bit wary when things are cheap because sometimes I wonder if it's also just like a new software. It could be particularly buggy, which is also really frustrating. So if you find a software where you can see that they're constantly updating the features, that there's a big engineering team behind it, to me, that's absolutely worth it because it also means it's less like that I'm actually going to outgrow the business and that the software company and my company can grow together. The last fun tip is always opt for annual subscription where possible. I realized that even though I've been using Zapier for years, for some reason I had accidentally switched it to monthly, so I was getting charged more per month for like 6 months before I actually realized that I was actually paying monthly rather than annually. Just opt for annual where possible to save you some money. Okay, so let's talk about wages and salaries in your business. So here are the wages and salaries I spent in my business. I spent about 13% of my $120,000 of expenses over this past year on people. So I have an assistant. She helps me with everyday things behind the scenes in the business, including emails, dealing with finances, and just a bit of content creation here and there. Next, I also spent money on closers. So closers is just another term for salespeople. So as part of my program last year, I had an additional step where people couldn't just purchase directly into the program. They actually had to jump into a call with a closer before they actually were able to be accepted in the program. The reason why I wanted that was because I didn't want to just have absolutely anybody and everybody inside the group program, because one bad egg inside a group program can really affect the overall vibe of the program. And so I really wanted to vet people out and make sure that we got the right people in through the door. The next thing I spent money on is an email marketer. One big part of my funnel is email marketing. And so I hired an email marketer to take that workload off me for a short period of time so that I could then focus on other parts of the business that needed me at that point in time. And that was when I was essentially doing a big launch for my business and I really needed to be spending time working on social media and actually just improving my program so that I could help students be as successful as possible. Next, I also paid for a video editor to help me streamline my YouTube efforts. Editing is just not where I want to be spending my time. Editing a video like this, it takes me an hour to film each one of these videos, mainly because I stumble over my words quite a lot when I film. And editing a video like this can take up to 10 hours and even more. And so those 10 hours is one full day that I can take back to focus on things that are going going to be more valuable for me to spend my time on. For example, working on strategy in the business. For example, working with my customer success consultant and learning how else can I improve my products. And so if you're asking, what should I actually spend my money on? I would throw that question back to you and ask you, what is it that you want? Do you want to save time, or is it that you want to upskill? Depending on the outcomes you want, that will actually help you identify who you should actually hire for. So a good example is the Facebook ads consultant. At this stage in my business, I wouldn't say that I can afford a person who can work internally in my business on just Facebook ads. For me, because I'm still new to Facebook ads, it's important for me to actually get somebody in who is an expert, who can help teach me, help me upskill, so that I actually understand what's happening with the Facebook ads. Only when I understand what's going on with the Facebook ads will I then potentially hire somebody internally to help me with the Facebook ads. That way I can actually see whether or not the person I've hired is actually doing a good job. I can't possibly know if they're doing a good job if I don't even know what I'm looking for, and if I don't even understand Facebook ads. I feel like I'm just going in blind. Now, if you're still not sure, my recommendation is to figure out what bogs you down with a timer app. So for example, I use Sunsama, and as I'm filming this YouTube video, you can see that I'm timing it so that I know at the end of the day where most of my time has actually gone. When you have that type of visibility, then you can identify what it is that takes up majority of your time and whether or not that's worth you actually doing, or if you should find somebody to do those tasks for you. Another part of the $120,000 I spent in business over this past year is in processes. So a business is a machine, and you can't run a machine if you don't have efficiency. So these were things that I focused on throughout the year, including recruitment and onboarding of my team members, training and development of them, and even doing things like performance management, so that I can ensure that I have an amazing team that comes together really well and works to the best of their ability. And when they're happy, they know what they're doing, they're getting upskilled, they then come to work happy, which then means that the business grows because they put in their best work. Okay, next, let's talk about paying taxes and paying fees in your business. I spent my fees, about 9%, on Stripe. Stripe is essentially my checkout payment collector. Then I paid fees to the bank, and I also paid fees to the government, so taxes. Now, one thing that I wish somebody had told me from the very beginning is just to accept the fact that paying fees is a part of business. Accept it rather than resist it. There was a point in time early on in my business when I was starting to make money, but I hated the idea of needing to pay the tax man. And so I was trying to come up with all these creative ideas on how to minimize my tax, when really that time should have been better spent actually just working on the business, accepting those fees and going, okay, cool, that's just a default of business. How can we scale? Paying fees is honestly not that bad. Focus more on how much you're actually making. The fact that you have fees means that you have a successful business. However, having said that, I would recommend you get a good accountant. Finding a good accountant is like finding a needle in a haystack. There are so many accountants out there, and I'm not gonna lie, a lot of them are shit. I've been through at least 5 or 6 accountants now before finding my current accountant who I'm extremely happy with, but it definitely took time to find the right person. With a good accountant, you can ask them, hey, how can I organize my tax structure so that I can be as efficient as possible? What this means is that you basically find the ways so that you're doing everything according to the books, but you still do it in a way that can help you minimize your tax. Next is you have to have a good understanding of your finances. Don't be like me back in the day where I kept saying I suck at money. When you speak to yourself in that way and you have that vocabulary in your head, you're not going to take the actions that are required of you to then actually get good at money and be really good at making money. If you suck at money, you're not going to be able to make a lot of money. End of story. If you feel like you suck at money, then get better at it. It might not be as hard as you think, and it wasn't as hard for me as I thought either. You got this! An additional tip is that you can also pay tax repayments throughout the year or at the end of the financial year. So in my business, because I made over $100,000 in profit, 25% of that goes to the tax man. So that's around $20,000 to $30,000 that I'm paying in tax. Now that can feel like a lot, especially if you're paying in one go at the end of the financial year. So what you can do is you can actually divvy it up throughout the year and pay the tax man in installments. That way it just doesn't feel as scary. Now that we've talked about expenses, let's talk about how to save money in business. One tip I have is on a routine basis, either annually or more frequent than that, you want to do a finance audit, tech audit, and people audit. So what you want to do is you want to go through all of your finances and actually check the money that I'm spending on this particular thing. Is it of value to me, and should I keep spending money on it? This is where you might find that you're paying for monthly subscriptions as opposed to annual subscriptions, and you can switch to annual in order to save a bit more dosh. Next is a tech audit. So you can go through all of your software and see, do I actually really use this? Do I really need this? Is there an overlap of particular software, or have I outgrown particular software and I actually need to change to a separate software? And third is a people audit. So have a look at who's on your team, whether or not they are in-house or whether or not they're contractors or whether they're consultants that you've actually just brought on board, and see, did I spend my money well here? Are there certain people that I'm no longer aligned with, that no longer serve me, that I don't need to work with anymore? Next is you can make spending money fun in your business. For me, these three things are the things that bring me joy. So sending gifts to clients, I absolutely love. I love getting to know my clients and trying to figure out what sort of package to send them that's actually really personalized. The second thing is YouTube. So if it's makeup or clothes or like a desk or background setup, then I can spend money on those to elevate my YouTube videos, but it's fun for me too because it's aesthetic. And then the next thing is point hacking. So if you're somebody who likes to travel, if you want to use points as opposed to spending money, then that's where you can get a business credit card so that you can collect the points. I also just want to add here that when it comes to the credit card, I actually never actually go in debt. I always have the money in my bank account that just gets transferred into the credit card before the end of the month. So I pay the entire bill in full. I never actually go in debt because a credit card interest rate is often very expensive and to me, not worth it. So over this last year, I pocketed $80,000 after taxes in my pocket. So what do I do with the money that I actually earn? Well, first, I actually pay off my mortgage. I am a really big believer of building assets as part of wealth building. And so to me, if I can pay off my mortgages, I have multiple properties, then that's me generating wealth for my future. The second part is more fun. So I spend money in alignment with my values. In a video that I created that you guys all really love, so go ahead and check that out. I would say no to spending money on coffee every day out if that didn't really serve me in any other way apart from the fact that it was just convenient. I can make coffee for myself at home. But where I am more comfortable and I'm happy to spend money on coffee out is, let's say if Josh and I on the weekend decide that we want to spend some time together, and part of that is going to a coffee shop, grabbing a coffee, grabbing a croissant, because what that means to me is that I'm actually spending time with my family, and that to me is a really core value of mine, having connection with my friends, family, enjoying good food. So if you're interested in how I think about money, my mindset around money, and my values around money, then go ahead and check out that video. If you've watched all the way until the end of this video, I appreciate you so much. I'd love for you to leave in the comments below one thing that you learned from this video, one thing that stood out from you. And if you're feeling a little bit lazy, but you want to show your love, I'd love for you to comment the number 120,000, because that's the number I've been talking about throughout this entire video. And I feel like it'd be interesting to see what other people think if they see that number constantly in the comment section. If you want to check out the videos that my subscribers seem to love, 6 unconventional tips I swear by, go ahead there, and otherwise subscribe to this channel and I'll see you soon. Bye!